It's the weekly review, legal review. Thank you for tuning in to the channel. Thanks for everybody attending today. We are so blessed to have a criminal defense attorney by the name of Calvin Johnson, who's going to come on and break down a lot of legal facts and help us interpret certain videos and things that have occurred through the week. We're also going to talk about some subjects that's on everybody's minds. In fact, about Donald Trump, as far as Epstein, there's a lot happening. There's a lot happening. Word on the street is that the National Guard will be visiting perhaps a city near you. So without any further hesitance, we're going to bring on Calvin Johnson, our criminal defense attorney. Calvin, welcome in.
How you doing, man? You doing okay?
Yes, indeed.
Yeah, so y'all have to excuse the backdrop, of course, in the back with the shoe collection. But outside of that, my name is Attorney Calvin D. Johnson. I've been a practicing criminal defense attorney in Dallas, Texas for the last 24 years. I do state, local, and federal criminal defense. I'm also politically involved. I hold a degree with a double major in political science and history from Howard Payne University in Brownwood, Texas. And I hold a law degree from St. Mary's University in San Antonio, Texas. I'm a licensed attorney here in Dallas, Texas, and in the state of Texas, but I sometimes am available to go around the country depending on your jurisdiction. And I just want to educate the public on what is happening in the world when you have legal issues, when you're in legal situations. I'm going to be able to tell you and give you some advice on what you should do. And that's what this show is about, learning about real situations, trying to keep yourself out of tough situations, and trying to make the best decision in your next situation. So that's what we're about here at the Weekly Legal Review. We want you to like and subscribe, continue to watch us. I can be contacted one of three ways: by telephone, 214-565-5600. I can be emailed at the word attorney Calvin D. Johnson at gmail.com. And the website is theywon'tletmeout.com. When they won't let you out, call Calvin D. Johnson, and I'll try to get you up out of there.
Awesome. So just for those who are in the audience, toward the end of the show, we're going to start reading some of your questions and also having Calvin answer a lot of it. We're also going to have some of you come up if you'd like to ask a question. Here's a great time to actually talk to a criminal defense attorney. I know that's quite amazing, so let's take full advantage of it. Calvin, why does it seem that a lot of news is coming out of Texas? First, we have the redistrict situation, and now we're hearing all about one of the individuals sleeping on the floor of the house, and they won't let her out and all of that stuff. What's going on in Texas right now?
You know, I try to explain to people, we've had several guests on this show, and they think fighting for justice here in Texas is easy. But they have had a history of injustice in the state of Texas. Like I told people before, we had the highest number of people on death row. We also had the highest number of wrongful convictions here in Dallas County, and Harris County came in second place. Louisiana came right after that. But when you got two of the counties that sit in two of the largest metropolitan areas in Texas, Dallas and Houston, and they have the highest amount of wrongful convictions and sending people to death row, that ought to tell you that there's a mindset going on down here in Texas. And as of African Americans, we're kind of under attack right now here in Texas, because we have the fourth and fifth largest metropolitan area in the entire United States. We have a large African American population, and we're in Texas. And the Democrats in Texas and the Democrat run cities of Dallas and Houston, a lot of those people did not vote Republican. I mean, without these areas in Texas, they would be the biggest, Texas would be one of the biggest red states out here. We actually balance things out. But when you vote for the Democratic Party and they do not win, then you got people like Governor Abbott, who's really good friends with Donald Trump, and they're going to do everything in their power to gerrymander us and wipe out some of our power here in Texas. And so that's why you got a lot of this stuff happening in Texas. It's not sweet down here. It's not easy.
Do you think a lot of that pertains to Donald Trump?
It does, because Mr. Trump understands the large African-American population here in Texas, and a lot of those people are now voting for him. And he also understands that he is making some inroads, especially with African-American males. And so he has decided, along with Governor Abbott, that they're going to attack Texas, with a vengeance. And so one of the things that's kind of unique and a lot of people won't talk about is the divide between African-American men and African-American women. And there seems to be a little bit of a divide right now because you have 20% of African-American men voting for Donald Trump and only 10% of African-American women voting for Donald Trump. And so there needs to be a conversation about platform, about approach, about what issues are going to be most important, not just to African-American women, but African-American men too as well, because what they don't understand, there's a trend happening. This Democratic Party is starting to leak more African-American men, and you got to be smart enough to realize that. And so in Texas, we're just having a major problem, and they have redrawn the districts to be able to attack us, and that's what they're doing.
I saw in the media in the final analysis, the Republicans were able to redraw the lines. Is that correct?
Yeah, they were. I mean, you can only stay out of the state for so long. A lot of these people that are state representatives, they have second jobs, they have families. Hey, they just can't go hide out in another state and stay there for months on end. Eventually, you have to come back home. There's business that has to be taken care of. And at the end of the day, you're not going to be able to run for years on end. At the end of the day, they're going to be able to redistrict this, and they're going to be able to try to move that map forward. I think that the smarter move is to try to attack the redistricting by filing lawsuits and seeing if those things will work. But I think that's the path that you got to take. But at the end of the day, the African-American community within itself has to take a long, hard look at the Democratic Party and make sure that we set more of the platform and we set more of the focus of the platform. Because I'm going to be real with you. When the Democrats lose and we vote 80 and 90% their way, we're the ones that they're going to come after, and we're the ones that are going to be hurt the most. So we got to start realizing that.
Now, how are you guys looking when it comes to ICE?
Well, it's rough out here, man. I got a lot of clients that are not citizens. They're scared to go to court. People don't want to get pulled over. If you get pulled over and they realize you're not a citizen in certain jurisdictions, especially on the outskirts, and some of these suburbs that are red, they pull you over for a traffic ticket, man. They realize you're not a citizen. They'll wait to arraign you, wait to take you to court, and see if ICE can come snatch you up. And so you can end up deported. So you can end up being driving somewhere, have a job and a family, buying a house. You're not a citizen. Oh, you got a ticket. Oh, you're not a citizen. They'll get you up out of here. They're not playing around right now in Texas. They're trying to deport as many as possible.
I saw a report that some of the National Guard might be backing up ICE. Have you heard anything about that?
Yes, I have. And what's happening is they're calling the National Guard out to make sure that they can handle these raids. Because, there are a lot of people that don't want to go. They don't want to go quietly. You have to really, truly understand some of these people have houses, 4 or 5 kids, and they're the breadwinners in the family. So you go to work one day, get pulled over, get snatched up, and everything that you live for, everything you build is gone. I'm not saying, hey, it's right or wrong, but when you look at the person who's getting snatched up, they might be willing to do some things. And there's some people in this community that really don't want to just let that go, man. That's going to be tough for a lot of people.
Right. I want to show you this video and get your ideas and viewpoint on it. It's actually individuals attacking ICE, from what I understand. Let's have a look at it.
Yes, sir.
And just to give the viewers some context, this is happening, I believe, in San Francisco out west.
Wow.
Now I'll just pause here for a minute. I noticed one thing off the cuff is that it's just like what I saw here in New York. A lot of the ICE agents are Hispanic and they speak Spanish to the highest degree. Any thoughts on that?
Hey, man, there's some Hispanic folks that don't like the fact that are citizens that don't like the fact that the illegals have come over and just come over without any papers. A lot of them feel like they have made the sacrifices to actually become citizens, and that these other folks have decided to just come over here and do whatever they wanted, and all of them don't believe that that's fair to them. So they have decided that they're going to join ICE. They have these huge bonuses. I'm telling you, some of these bonuses I've heard are $50,000 or more, where they're coming in there and allowing people to sign on, get these huge bonuses and play these huge paychecks. And a lot of the Hispanic people that happen to be serving as ICE agents, they want to take that money because they can make that money and they can do a lot of things with that money, and they can actually serve the country with the way that they feel that they want to. They don't want some of the illegals over here. I think that's pretty interesting. It's almost going against some of your own folks. I couldn't do that. But at the same time, some of them consider themselves Americans, and they consider the other ones that got here illegally just as invaders.
A lot of people feel like ICE shouldn't have their face covered. What do you think?
Well, I think well, I think that they have to because of the technology in today's world. What's going to happen when those guys are off work, right? People are going to attack them. They're going to pull their photos and figure out who they are. Maybe they can go to their houses, try to harm their families, follow them. And that should not be happening in America. I mean, I'm going to be honest with you. You can't go after a federal agent trying to attack him, attack his family, expose him, follow him around. I don't think that that's smart to do. Now, I understand the desperation in a lot of people's lives, but I don't think that that's something you should be doing. And with that being said, those agents have to cover their faces, because if not, you got some crazy folks out here that will come after them.
Salaya Ben Yah says they feel as though it's staged. What do you think?
Well, you know, people can say it's staged or not staged. I'm just telling you, you know, you run up on somebody who's in this country and he got a family, he at work, he's never really did anything wrong a whole lot. Or let's say he got one case in the past, but he's been here for 12, 15 years. He got a wife that's pregnant at home, 3 or 4 kids. He's the breadwinner, and you're going to try to snatch him up out of here and just think he's not going to fight you back. I'm not justifying the guy fighting back, but you got to have an understanding that that is going to happen. And so when people say stuff like it's a stage, I don't view it as staged. I view it as, hey, somebody is trying to stay in this country. They don't want to end up out this country. I mean, they got family here. And a lot of these Hispanic folks, some have been here since they were children, and they don't know anything about Mexico. They don't know anything about the country that you're sending them back to. When you're trying to take somebody out of that situation, no, that's not staged. People are serious about this.
Right. I noticed that the Trump administration are sending people to other welcoming countries that are not their own. What are your thoughts on that?
Man, that's crazy to me, man, to send somebody where they don't belong, to send somebody where they don't know anyone. I'm not a fan of that. I think you need to find out where that person is from or where that person's family is from. I think you need to send them there. I don't think sending that person to a random country, I don't think that that's right.
Right. Okay, let's get back to the video for a minute here.
Oh.
So here's a question for you. If an individual in this particular video is arrested, would they come to a criminal defense attorney as yourself, or would they go to an immigration attorney?
They have to go to an immigration attorney because the criminal matter is not going to really matter as much if you're not able to stay in this country. Typically, if these folks are trying to stay in this country and they're being deported, they need to seek an immigration lawyer. How the criminal defense lawyers come in is if they have a pending case, if you get convictions of certain things while you're here illegally, you can never apply to come back to this country. And sometimes if you overstay your visa a certain amount of times, you can't re-enter the country until about another 10 years. And so in that particular situation, you want to be able to have an immigration lawyer assist you with trying to stay here.
Okay, so with the immigration and also with the Epstein files, it looks like Donald Trump is taking on water and he might have trouble with the midterm elections. Do you think the whole redistricting in Texas is playing out because of insecurities with his administration?
I think it is because they know they're going to have a problem. When you don't have the numbers that you need and you feel that you're going to bleed some of your support, then you redraw the district to try to hold your support. And that's what they're trying to do. Now, what some of the other states are doing, like California and New York, they have decided to redraw their districts to try to match what Texas is doing. And because they know it's very important to try to get at least one chamber of the Congress so that they can start blocking and controlling some of the things that happen. So Mr. Trump is very concerned. He is taking on some water. And it's not just the fact that he's deporting people. I think it's some of the other things, some of the kitchen table issues. People feel like inflation has not stopped going up. There's been a lot of layoffs. The federal government is not helping some of these people like they used to help in the past. Some of the farmers feel like that they've been betrayed by Mr. Trump. And so when you have those things coming together, he's taking on some water. And when you can't do it by numbers, you do it by redrawing the maps, and that's what he's trying to do.
Okay. Now, I've been seeing a rumor as far as, I think her name is Crockett, that she no longer has a seat. Is that true?
With the redistricting, if that passes, the redistricting passes, she will no longer have a seat. She'll have to compete in another district that somebody else is already in. And so what they've done is they've moved her, written her out of her district and into another district. So she would have to run against a sitting member of the Democratic and or Republican Party. So what happens is where you had, like in Dallas, you have District 30 and then you have District 32 sitting next to each other. And you got Julie Johnson, you got Jasmine Crockett. They're both Democrats. Well, they pushed Crockett, I think, up into Julie Johnson's district. So now you got two Democrats fighting for one spot when it used to be one Democratic, one here and one there, and where they had two spots. And so you start doing stuff like that where you force these people to fight each other, to knock each other off. And that's what they're trying to do. So they're pushing her, writing her into a district to where now she doesn't have a district. And if she wants to run, she has to run against a sitting member of her party.
I saw where one of the members basically was camping out overnight. Could you explain to us why she slept in like that?
Well, you know, what was happening is the governor basically said that if you leave the Capitol, I'm going to have a state trooper follow you. You're going to have to agree to a detail. You're going to have to do this and that. And if you try to leave and go back home or run out of the state or run too far, I'm going to have the troopers arrest you. And I think that's where, when it comes to me, that's where you go too far. You're not, I don't care who you are, governor or not, you're not telling me where to go and that you're going to have somebody arrest me for going where I want to go. That's not going to happen. And that's part of the problem with the Democratic Party. You got to have some backbone. Like, if that's me, I'm standing up. I want you to arrest me. Go right ahead. I'm going to sue the hell out of you. And if I don't sue you, you're going to catch all the mouth that I can. I'm going to do everything within my power to make sure that you don't treat me like that. That's almost like having a slave and having a permission slip to have to go somewhere. I mean, I'm not following that. I'm not having anybody treat me like that, Abbott or anybody else. And I'll say it boldly. If he's listening to me, you wouldn't be doing me like that. I would just tell you that point blank. And you have to have people that are willing to stand up like that and willing to fight. But sometimes you have people that are bow down to that kind of stuff. I wouldn't be bowing down to that because you're not going to treat me like that. You're not going to treat me like that. You're not going to treat my constituents like that. You're not going to treat my people like that. And that's why that lady was sleeping there. Because if she left, if she went anywhere, they were trying to put a detail on her to follow her. And then that becomes a whole nother situation. But once again, sometimes our Democrats have to be ready. Like you say, you're going to charge me with a felony, do it. Let's go. I'm going to let you do it. And I'm going to fight you. And I'm going to fight you in these courts. And if these courts try to say that that is legal, then I'm going to keep fighting. Because you're not going to do me like that. We have to stand up. And some of us don't want to stand up enough.
Great. Another pressing issue in the press this week was with Ghislaine Maxwell. I think simultaneously, when it came to the Epstein files, they were releasing the files to the House in some way, but also Donald Trump somehow released the whole audio by means of Todd Blanche. Do you think that this is going to change the way MAGA views releasing the files?
I think it is. And like I told you before, I have great concerns about the relationship that Maxwell and Epstein had with the Trumps, the Clintons, and everybody. Because, see, in politics, you want to make it seem like, hey, they're the ones, they're the dirty ones, they're the ones that are in bed with Maxwell and Epstein. We would never do that. We're not the ones that are in bed with Maxwell and Epstein. But when you let something go like that, and it looks like that you have a relationship just like they have a relationship, MAGA's going to look at you differently. MAGA's tried to look at some of the Democrats and some of the people that are in that party as being involved in child trafficking, hiding things, being involved with behavior of minors. And they feel like they have a biblical duty to make sure that that stuff is exposed. But when you're Mr. Trump and you look like you're hiding something from your public or you're hiding something from MAGA and these people put you up there, I think it's going to cause him a problem in the end.
About 2 weeks ago, the New York Times put out a picture and it showed a camera in a bedroom, I believe, in Epstein's house. Ghislaine Maxwell, when she was interviewed by Todd Blanche, she said she never saw him filming or putting up cameras for people in bedrooms or in bathrooms. What do you think about that?
Man, that's a lie. Come on, like, you know, I had to just call her a lie, man, but chances are, I mean, how can you be around this guy that long? How can you be the recruiter for him? How can you kind of be in charge of finding girls and you don't know that there's cameras around? I mean, we have to sometimes sit down and just have a real talk and be honest. It's a joke. How do you know that they're not cameras? You know everything that he's doing. You know that you know about his little sicknesses and his proclivities for younger women. And that's why you were getting them for him. And her getting any preferential treatment actually makes me sick. She's part of the problem. Because when you look at Ghislaine Maxwell, think about how she looks. She looks like class. She looks like money. She looks like somebody you can trust. And what was happening, those young girls, after meeting her and being around her, they were trusting her. She looks like somebody you can trust. She looks like somebody that would never be involved in some of the stuff that Mr. Epstein was doing. And those are the kind of people that were roping young women in. Your daughters, your nieces and wives, because this goes back some years. She was roping them in to a sick situation. And so the fact that she is getting any preferential treatment right now is ridiculous.
Ghislaine Maxwell also said that she never saw Donald Trump do anything inappropriate.
Well, the problem with that is he's the president right now. And if she says something opposite, they're going to put her in the hole. So how can you trust that? I mean, when you think about it right now, Mr. Trump is probably responsible for all the lightness that she's getting right now. When I say lightness, her getting transferred to where people can't get to her, her getting transferred to minimum security and probably having better conditions. Because if Mr. Trump wanted her to have tough conditions, that would be happening right now. And he actually, believe it or not, even though he's not over the prisons, the federal prisons, per se, he's still the person that's going to make those decisions about how she gets treated. Because if somebody does something that he doesn't want them to do in that area, he's going to make them pay. So I don't buy that, man. I really don't buy that. That's a joke.
Does she stand a good chance of being appealed favorably because of the fact of her testimony? And also most Republicans are trying to say there's no there.
Yeah, she can get her sentence cut by providing the government with substantial information to find out about other people. So she can end up getting home sooner. I'm not saying she's going to automatically walk up out of there, but she stands to gain some time cuts. And if Mr. Trump wanted to pardon her, he could. He could wait till the end, pardon her, and nobody could do anything to him. Think about that.
Do you think the steps taken this week, especially on Friday with the releasing of the audio and the files to the House, that this is going to change the tide, at least for people being able to trust the administration again?
I don't think it is. I think they wonder if more is there. They want to see more. They want to hear more. When you look at the fact that Ms. Maxwell has been transferred, that her conditions have been improved, and that it took all of this. I mean, think about the conversation for weeks and months on end, and actually years on end, about these things being released. And it took all of this brouhaha to make it happen after we were told on a repeated basis that it was going to happen another way. It was going to happen at this time. There were a bunch of files put in our face, and it was going to happen then. And it's finally happening now. And even when it happens now, there's some controversy attached to it. I don't think that this is going to calm the thing down. People are going to want to know more.
Okay, we have quite a few people here. Thanks for being here. Please hit the like button, share, and subscribe if you like the material. Calvin, could you tell everyone where to find you and your information?
My name is Attorney Calvin D. Johnson. I can be reached at 214-565-5600. I can be reached by email at attorneycalvindjohnson@gmail.com. And I can be reached at theywon'tletmeout.com. And if y'all want to give to support this channel, my Cash App is Calvin J 3421. So it's Calvin J, it's $ Calvin J 3421. So if you want to actually give to this channel, you can hit us with the Cash App. And if you want to do a super chat, you can do that as well. So that's how you can get in contact with me. That's how you can get in touch with me. That's who I am. And I'm just here to try to, number one, talk about the current events. And also when there are legal problems and we see legal situations, I'm going to give you some advice on what I would do and what you should do if you were in that similar situation. That's what we do here on the weekly legal review. Okay,
so let's just take a moment, switch gears a little bit. Are you shocked that the Menendez brothers did not have a favorable outcome?
I'm not. I mean, what they did, they were wealthy. I think people have tried to clean them up. They tried to put white robes around them. But what they did to their parents, I don't care what anybody says, regardless of whatever went on in that house. And I don't believe some of the stuff that they were saying actually happened there. I'm not saying it's not possible, but to try to come out with that now after all of these years when you killed your parents to get the money, I don't buy that. I mean, that seems to be some rich kids trying to relive something and get out and trying to change time. And I really don't think that, excuse me, I really don't think that should happen for them.
From what I understand, one of the dominant factors as to the negative outcome was the fact that they were caught with cell phones in prison. Any thoughts on that?
I think when you look at that, that shows that they try to manipulate situations and they're trying to use their privilege to be able to do things that other people wouldn't do. And I think that's very important because when you got cell phones in jail, man, you can actually push a lot of narratives. Cell phones can be dangerous when you got them inside the jail. You can talk to people on the outside. You can commit more crimes. You can make things happen. And so when you're doing that kind of stuff, hey, people have to start thinking about that. They're still lawbreakers, you know?
Yes, indeed. One of my strong supporters, Gear Jammer, he's a Trump supporter. He says 3 different Democrat judges have refused to release the Epstein files. Trump has nothing to do with those files.
Let's be honest. Mr. Trump, if he wants something out, he could do that. There's nothing that he didn't have nothing to do with. Trump's a very powerful man, and he could get those things released if he wanted to. And he has the power to do that. That's kind of the kind of power at this point that he has. And we have to start being honest about that. And that's what we got to start talking about.
Okay. And just switching back to the Menendez brothers, One Love had made a statement in regards to everyone having cell phones in prisons nowadays. Any thoughts?
Yeah, you know what? I hate to I hate to talk about that because I know some folk in there that got some cell phones, man. But I just I don't know how they're getting them. I've heard the stories from some of my other clients that are in there that people have them. It's crazy nowadays, the kind of contraband that can end up in these prisons. And, it's kind of sad when you think about it, but at the same time, if there's a will, there's a way, and there seems to be corruption, even inside the federal judicial system when it comes to inmates to be able to get things that you probably shouldn't have.
Okay, getting back to Donald Trump and this whole National Guard thing in DC, a lot of people feel like there hasn't been any great accomplishments in DC since they put the National Guard in.
Well, this is my opinion on that. DC does have a lot of crime. I remember visiting there when I was in law school, and on one street, you may have a beautiful neighborhood, a high-end neighborhood, but if you walk 2 blocks in the wrong direction, you could have some problems. I remember a story of me walking from the hotel, one of the very ritzy hotels, and we were walking to go get something to eat. And we had went the wrong way. And this was before the days of the cell phone tell you where to go. But my hood radar went off because I'm walking and then I noticed a guy in the corner peek out. And then I know another guy kind of move his arm and his body a certain way. And I was like, y'all stop. And it was like, what? I said, everybody stop right now. I said, we're going to go back in the other direction because I kind of saw some movements where these guys, if we'd have walked a little bit further, we would have had some problems because DC is rough. And then if you're visiting there, you don't really know. You could be staying at a very nice hotel. If you go 2 blocks in the wrong direction, you got a problem. And so Trump trying to clean DC up, I understand some of that. But when you take away the elected officials that were elected to do those particular jobs and you're pulling the National Guards in there trying to do stuff, man, don't get me wrong. I mean, there are a lot of people that like the fact that Trump brought the National Guard in, but you got to be extremely careful because he can just use that in targeted situations, which means he can go into democratically controlled areas on a consistent basis and use that as a political tool. And you don't want that to happen, especially as African Americans in the past. We have been victims of so much injustice that even though you want the crime cleaned up, you also got to be careful because when they get in there, that could be a problem.
At a high level, right? They say we have tariffs that are increasing. The inflation rate, I think, is over 2.7 or what have you. We also have a lot of people losing their homes, becoming homeless because of the economy, but yet the homeless people feel like they're going to be locked up. Any thoughts on that?
As far as the homeless people being locked up, I don't think he's going to do that. But what I will tell people, does it surprise you that inflation is up? Does it surprise you that people are losing their homes? Does it surprise you that things are costing more money? The biggest grift that I think that Mr. Trump has sometimes is that people will associate him with fighting always for the people. And I will tell you, because I'm going to be fair, sometimes he does fight for the people because some of the craziness that's coming from the far left, and he's just not going to allow it. And then some of the powers that be, he's at times willing to challenge those. But let's be honest, he's a capitalist. He has a lot of capitalist friends, and he understands he's in the position not just to help the country. He wants to be able to make some money and then leave a legacy and a situation that's going to allow him to make more money when he leaves office. And so it doesn't surprise me that things are costing more money, because let's be honest, a lot of people that did give to his party and a lot of people that did give to his campaign are those people that control those huge industries, and they control the prices of items and things in this country. And then the trade war with the tariffs, I mean, that's going to hurt you. I mean, some people may say, hey, it makes America more competitive. But depending on what you need when it comes to everyday items, these tariffs and these tariffs can really hurt the economy. It can really hurt an average person, especially if that person just lost their job and they're trying to buy their essentials. And so, you know, people can argue numbers, but I'm out here, man. People are getting iffy because government jobs are being cut, stuff is too high, and people are not making enough money. And so you got to start thinking about that.
Typically, the Department of Justice and the president stay separate, but it seems that as though now they're running his beck and call. What do you think?
They are running this beck and call. When you think about it, the people who prosecuted him in the past, he has decided to go after some of those people. And so a lot of those people who prosecuted him have lost their jobs. And he's in complete control at this point. A lot of people are even scared to question him, even when it comes to the Constitution. A lot of people that are in office, a lot of people that he employs will not challenge him. So that's part of the problem.
You think it's legitimate what happened with John Bolton this week?
Man, I don't. I just think that's a grudge. And that's what we got to be careful about. You know, have we descended upon doing stuff for grudges? Have we descended upon, okay, the Republicans win the election, so I'm going to go raid the Democrats. And so when you start doing that, eventually the rabbit is going to have the gun. Like they say, ain't no fun when the rabbit got the gun. Well, the rabbit might have the gun the next time. So what happens is, instead of having an election and then people working together for the next 4 years, you have an election and you spend 4 years going after the person who went after you. And that's a problem. I think that's going to bring the destruction of America. And we got to be very, very careful when you start doing stuff like going after Bolton, who used to work for you, who you had issues with, going and running to democratically run cities just because you don't like the fact that they did not vote for you. And you want to hide behind the fact that you're saying you're doing it for the people, but you're really doing it to settle a score. And everybody who is a Trump fan, don't get me wrong, he's done some good things. He's done some things that have allowed this country to move forward in certain areas. But you can't be so myopic to realize when he does something bad, or when he does something inappropriate, or when he does something that's going to hurt us long term. There's no reason to paint him all black or all white. Sometimes it's a shade of gray that he is in certain situations, and I'm just being honest about it. So that's just kind of where we are.
Donald Trump said he had no clue that John Bolton was being raided. Do you believe that?
Absolutely not. I mean, if you believe that, I'll sell you swampland to build a skyscraper on, okay?
Yeah. One Love said they raided Trump's house. It was okay. Now it's a problem.
Well, at the end of the day, if he had stuff that he wasn't supposed to take with him, hey, you can't have stuff that you're not supposed to take with you. So at the end of the day, I think they had a right to raid his house. If you got stuff in boxes that you should not have, and you know you probably should return them, you got a certain amount of time you don't return them. They ought to be able to go in there and get them, because you're not president forever. You're ex-president at that point, and you shouldn't have documents just laying around in your basement when you're at basically a resort that anybody could come in and steal classified documents. I think people have those issues and with being either pro-Trump or anti-Trump. I just call it what it is. Certain things have to get done, whether you're pro-Trump or anti-Trump.
Okay. Segment says red cities has as much crime as blue cities. He has not sent troops there.
And that is true. Some of the red cities do have a lot of crime. And see, that's the problem that you're going to have. You know, are we just doing this just because you won the election and the party that went against you they're controlled by the blue party. And so that's the biggest issue that we have. You got to be extremely careful. And listen, he's talking about going into Chicago. Chicago didn't vote his way. DC did not vote his way. So when you think about those things, and he's out there in LA. California didn't vote his way. And see, I don't like that kind of stuff, because you have state and local governments fighting the federal government. And a lot of it looks like it's because of party.
Even at the highest level of government, especially with the Department of Justice and their accusations, they still need a federal judge to sign off on the warrant, correct?
Yes, they do. But a lot of times Trump was the one who appointed the federal judge. And so his judges are starting to rubber stamp a lot more of what he's doing. And so that's causing a huge issue, you know?
Right. Could you just give us a little, I just want to stop for a moment and get you to tell us a few things that are handy for life. If a person is stopped on the side of the road, right? This is a question that came up this week from an email. Mm-hmm. Are you to stay quiet even in talking to, let's say, a local police officer about a DWI?
Most states have changed the law to where you have to identify yourself. So that's number one. So let's say it's a DWI. He's probably going to have you try to do what we call a field sobriety test, a standard field sobriety test. And basically, and then a HGN test. That's a horizontal gaze nystagmus. That means when they put the red dot in your eye, typically your eye will jerk. And if it doesn't have smooth tracking, there's evidence that you're intoxicated. Typically, what I tell people to do this on the standard field sobriety test, he's going to try to flunk you on that. The officer typically is going to ask you, of course, everybody knows, step up to the line, take 10 steps, heel to toe, turn around, come back. Some people think he's just telling you to do 2 or 3 things, right? That sounds like 3 instructions, right? No, he's not. He's basically telling you, when I tell you to come here, you got to come here. You have to wait for me. You have to wait for me to tell you to step up to the line. You have to look at me, and you have to wait till I say go. When you get down to the end, you have to wait for me to signal you again. Then you step up again, and you have to wait till I say go and do heel to toe. And what happens is that's really about 10 instructions. You're thinking that if I walk up to this line, do the 3 things and come back, I'm fine, right? No. He's going to fail you for not looking at him before you started. He's going to fail you for not stepping up to him before you start. If you don't take the correct amount of steps, he's going to fail you for that. If you don't start when he says start, he's going to fail you for that. So he's going to come up with 4 or 5 clues that say you're probably intoxicated because you can't follow instructions. And so when I tell people these things, they go like, wow, you're right, Calvin. He really is telling me 10 things. But those are the kind of tricks that they use. Yeah, you have to identify yourself. And then there's civil penalties when you don't sign paperwork, because they have to try to take your license as well as give you a DWI. And there's certain requirements that are met there. But as far as that's concerned, if you feel like he's going to take you to jail, then why even answer the questions outside of your name? And I'm going to be honest with you. I've watched a lot of DWI videos. Do you ever see them let anybody go? No, you don't. So that's why, to me, just doing the stuff he wants me to do, why am I going to even chance it? He's just going to prove evidence that maybe I am intoxicated or try to make me look bad. And then, honestly, they went away from the breathalyzers. A lot of the people now are in a lot of states, they're getting blood warrants. Y'all know what blood warrants are, right? That's where they have the ability to seek your blood and just take your blood and test your blood for the alcohol concentration. And so that's where a lot of people are doing. And then a lot of these states have what we call no refusal weekends, which means because of, let's say, a holiday or a big event, they'll set stuff up, these roadblocks where you can't refuse the test. And then sometimes you refuse the test, you can automatically get your license suspended. And so there are a lot of things that are happening, but typically the states and the laws have changed to be able to get blood warrants, because they'll be able to read your blood alcohol content on your blood a lot better, because the breathalyzer machines can be faulty at times. Sometimes people can trick them. And then sometimes, if not properly calibrated, if you're close to the line, a good defense attorney like myself may be able to get you under the line. So those are things that you got to consider.
Is it possible that you could eat something that would throw off the test as well to make it appear that you're drunk when you're not?
I always tell people, sometimes they'll try to say I had some mouthwash and this and that. Those things only come out only so high on the blood on the breathalyzer machine, and then they'll start to drop over time. And so sometimes when people try to say, "Yeah, I had some mouthwash," when you retest your level should go down, because mouthwash is not going to continuously show up. And so that's why when we talk about things like that, as far as eating something, a lot of that's not going to change your blood alcohol level. Now, if you're eating mushrooms, if you're doing stuff like that, that could be a problem. But even if you're eating something temporarily, it may cause an issue. But when they retest you, that's not going to make a difference. And most people say you need a court order. What's happening now in the days of them taking your blood, the judges are now available by Zoom. They're available by Teams. They can e-sign these warrants. And so if there's a big accident and you're stumbling, or if the officer says he smelled alcohol on your breath and he testifies over on the phone, on a Zoom call, or on a FaceTime call that, hey, this person has alcohol in his breath and we feel there's probable cause to test this person, the judges can sign off on a blood warrant on Zoom, Teams, or e-sign it and send that warrant back to that officer and be able to get your blood.
Last night I was online and I saw this whole case about this truck driver. I guess he's from India.
Oh,
and
yeah,
he made a U-turn and I think 3 people were killed.
Yeah.
What are your thoughts on that?
Oh, man, that's crazy. First of all, why in God's green earth, if you're driving an 18-wheeler, that you think you can make a U-turn, not understanding that the back of your truck is going to stay in the road and it's going to have to twist. So for the next 3 to 8 seconds, 3 to 10 seconds, anybody that's behind you is going to hit you. I thought that was it. I couldn't believe it that this guy tried to do a U-turn. And then let's be honest, I just drove from Dallas toward Houston today and back. The little U-turn he tries to make, they're all over the roads in Texas, as well as they're in the road in Florida. They tell trucks not to make those U-turns like that. What the trucks are supposed to do, those trucks are supposed to go up to the next turnaround and then cross over the bridge and come back. They're not supposed to use those turnarounds like that. They actually, typically on the road, they're taught not to use those turnarounds. And then I heard that this particular immigrant bought his license, so he didn't even have a CDL. So he really didn't. He may have known how to actually drive the truck, but when it came to safety, I don't think he had any training. And it's a shame that he cost some people their lives.
Wow. My brother, the truck driver, he says that the regulations have changed tremendously when it comes to the rules of the game now. Do you think it's because of situations like this?
I think it is. And I've heard that they try to limit the amount of time you can drive. But man, when you're trying to drive and get something across the country and you're getting paid a certain amount to do it in a certain amount of time and you're getting paid by the mile, there are people who are trying to bend the rules to make as much money as possible on these loads. And they're trying to get people that maybe not be certified to drive so they can pay them less. And so I know that the rules have changed, but I think sometimes these rules have changed to make it easier to get people to drive that maybe should not be driving.
Okay, so let's go back to the breathalyzer. Some people say, I've heard, you shouldn't blow and take the test. That way they don't have the numbers.
Well, what I try to tell people is it's like this for me, and I'll take myself out of being a lawyer, being a citizen. My whole deal is 99 times out of 100, they're not letting you go. So if I'm on the road, my whole mode is what? I want to get back in my car and go home, right? if you're not going to help me get back in my car and go home, I don't want to blow in a machine. I don't want to do any of your tests. I'll tell you who I am. I'll cooperate with you. I'll be nice. But in terms of doing some of the tests and stuff that you want me to do, I'm probably not going to do those things, because at the end of the day, you're there to try to take me to jail. I'm there to try to go home. And I'm also there to try to put myself in a situation where you do put this case on me, that I beat it. And I feel like all of this other stuff that I'm doing, especially if I know I threw a couple of back and I haven't eaten any food, I wouldn't take the test. Now, they go nowadays, like I said, they get around that because a lot of people were refusing the breathalyzers and just saying they weren't going to do anything. So what they're doing now is they're getting the judges on Zoom, on the phone, and getting them to e-sign blood warrants. But I wouldn't take the breathalyzer if I didn't have to. But they'll refuse you now. If you do a refusal, sometimes that can cost you your license. And some CDL drivers, they can't refuse, or they automatically take their licenses. But if I'm a regular person, I might refuse to take the breathalyzer. Now, of course, they're going to take the blood warrant. They're going to take a blood warrant probably and get it, but it depends on my situation. But to be honest with you, I would tell most of the people, don't do these tests and don't do the breathalyzer unless you absolutely have to. And if they're not going to let you go home, and I've never seen anybody get let go home, then why am I doing the test anyway?
Right. Isn't it true that the numbers are usually more favorable the longer you wait anyway?
Yeah, they are. The numbers are more favorable. So let's say I've had a few, and I'm not for sure if I'm intoxicated. I may not want to blow in that machine. I may want to make them get a blood warrant, because maybe it takes them an hour or two to get them in the hospital, and maybe I can get my numbers down. So I literally wanted to delay it, and I want to stall them out to see if I can get myself back right, or if my body will allow those levels to go down.
Okay. I saw this video. I think it was a rapper's son, T.I.'s son, was arrested in Georgia.
Uh-huh.
And I guess he really didn't have a warrant, but they were trying to, I guess, take him over to some other Cobb County or something like that. Is that normal that you can have a false warrant?
Sometimes it is. Sometimes they can get you wrong, or somebody sometimes can enter something in, not enter something in properly. But that's where you got to be careful when it says I don't have a warrant and you're trying to take me somewhere else. That doesn't seem right. You know, we got to be very careful about that. And then that kid, they kind of know who he is. They know he's a high profile target. So sometimes they'll want to take him to jail because they don't like his dad. But if they don't have a warrant, they should be letting him go. They shouldn't be trying to detain him for no reason. People should fight that. That's why I try to tell people these body cams have been a huge help in some situations. Now, some situations they're going to hurt you, but there are a lot of situations where I see body cams help a guy, you know?
Okay. Recently, I drove to Charlotte, North Carolina. I went through each state from New York, right? And I noticed they have unmarked vehicles in each state accordingly, but some have pickup trucks. So how do I know I'm stopping for a legitimate police officer?
And
if
see,
I'm
that's
from New York.
And that's the concern. A lot of people, because state troopers, they're in different cars, some of them in trucks. Some of them have actually started getting in sports cars to be able to run people down. You know, that's a hard question. And especially as African-American, like I don't like stopping at night. Like if I'm on the side of a road at night, now, buddy, we're going somewhere where there's some light. You're not going to pull me up. You're not going to pull me over just in somewhere in the dark. I mean, there's a story of Jay Prince where they were after him in the Rap-A-Lot Records for a while, and the officer was trying to pull him over in the dark, and he was like, nah. He pulled over in a fast food parking lot, and he said that when he pulled over in the fast food parking lot, the officer was talking to him, but it was another unmarked car over in the corner. And he said that he knew that if he had got in that car in the dark, that they would have planted something on him. And so you got to be very careful with that. So I try to tell people, if you stop somewhere and it's in the dark, if there's a situation where you can get to somewhere in the light, try to. That's not always the situation. Maybe you're between exits and it's the long time before you get to the next one. But I'm not a big fan of stopping on the side of a road in the dark as a black man. So you want to try to make sure that if somebody's trying to pull you over, you pull over. And sometimes you can kind of slow roll yourself to where there's some light so that people can see you. And a lot of times they have these body cams on.
Okay, could you do us a big favor? Break down um, first degree murder, capital murder, second degree murder. Is there a third, and also manslaughter?
It
What's
just
the
kind of depends on your situation. Capital murder usually applies, like, for example, sometimes if you kill a police officer, or if you are committing another crime. Let's say I'm trying to rob you, right? And I'm robbing you, and you got $10,000 on you, and in the course of robbing you with my gun, I shoot you and kill you. That's considered capital murder. That's considered capital murder. If, let's say, me and you are having a disagreement and we have a fight and I decide to kill you, that's more like first degree murder. Second degree murder, sometimes, depending on what state you in, it can be a situation where there are certain circumstances that are there, depending on the state that you're in, that could be second degree murder. When it comes to manslaughter, it could be a situation where me and you are having a conflict, and maybe I didn't set out to kill you, but because of our conflict and maybe us going back and forth because of that conflict, then I ended up killing you, but I did not set out to kill you. We were just in a situation that caused me to have to kill you. And so that's how those differences and those little nuances apply. Really, the bigger differences between capital murder and murder, where if you're committing if you commit another felony, or you committing a felony, and in the commission of that felony, a person loses their life, then you can get charged with capital murder. Regular murder is just, hey, we're going at it. I decide I'm going to kill you, and I go kill you. It's not for money. It's not for reasons. It's that. And when it comes to manslaughter, typically that could be a situation where it could be a fight. It could be a situation where I took stuff too far during the fight, and I really wasn't allowed to, and then I killed you. And let's say we're having a fight and I got the better of you. I'm no longer in my self-defense mode. Let's say we're fighting. I knock you down a couple of times. You're not getting up. You're not moving. And then I decide at that point, I'm going to go over there and finish you off. You're no longer a threat. I'm no longer defending myself. And I decide to pummel your head into the ground and you die because of that. That could be considered manslaughter.
Okay, thank you very much. Explain to everyone how long you've been a criminal defense attorney.
I've been a criminal defense attorney for the last 24 years, almost 25 years. And what I try to tell people, the laws in different states are different. And then in addition to that, the laws recently, when it comes to giving your ID, 5 or 6 years ago, a lot of states were able to refuse giving your ID. Those state legislatures have made adjustments. And now, hey, you gotta show your ID. And so I try to tell people I've been doing this almost a quarter century. And what I try to do is just give people good advice, great advice on what they should do when they're in certain situations. But you always got to be a little fluid because the law does change. You have to realize that laws changed a lot. Think about the fly cameras, the cameras that are on the freeway entrances and exits, and the cameras that are at the mall entrances and exits. The license plate readers that these state troopers have and some of the local law enforcement have. So let's say I'm just driving down the street. I drive past a police car, and then I go to the mall and I decide to rob a store. And I'm driving a blue Chrysler. And what they're going to do is they're going to go back and, hey, we can't see the license plate on the blue Chrysler at the mall. So did anybody pull the license plate of a blue Chrysler today? Well, that officer I drove by 5 blocks from the mall, his license plate reader hit my car. So now they know I have a blue Chrysler. So now they're able to actually go and get a warrant for a blue Chrysler because they're going to go look at who owns the blue Chrysler. They're going to see if it matches the description, and it does because they got my license plate. And so now they're going to go look for the owner, and they're going to ask the owner, hey, where were you at today? And so, that's why I try to say that things have changed. the laws can change, and there's a lot of stuff technology-wise that are really tripping people up out here.
Speaking of that technology, there's also cases when it comes to DNA, because I know the case of Brian Koberger, I believe they use one of the networks like 23andMe, and they submitted the DNA profile. And
Mm-hmm.
because someone in his family had, sent off for their DNA,
Mm-hmm.
they were able to tie it down to the father, to him. And so they went to the house,
Mm-hmm.
retrieved some of the trash, and they booked him. Is that common? Do you see that in your?
And that's starting to happen. And that's why a lot of people are starting not to want to do these DNA things. And a lot of these companies are trying to get waiver signed where they don't have to give that information up. And so a lot of people are deciding not to do their genealogy because they don't want something like to happen. And then a lot of these companies, because they're going to lose money, because I don't want you giving my information to law enforcement without my permission. And so a lot of these companies are starting to lose out because people don't want to do that, because they truly see that that could be dangerous. In addition to that, things have kind of changed. I mean, they're sometimes are able to pull your trash and get that information and take it and do a DNA test and be able to say that that's somebody in your family, that's somebody along your family tree where they have chromosomes just like yours, and they can tell that it was someone in your family. And what I'm trying to educate people about is technology has really starting to catch up to criminality. I always try to tell people, especially like these gang members that are out here committing these crimes, thinking they get away with stuff. And I've started to tell them, I said, hey, man, the game has changed. So they're able to get things. They're able to do things to you that in the past they were not able to do, because they have a lot more information and there are a lot more ways to catch you now. So people think that they can commit crime the same way, like they can do these mass smashing grabs, right? You go to the mall, right? You grab a whole bunch of stuff. You drive out the mall, get in your car, drive off. Hey, they didn't see you. They didn't catch you. But what you don't understand, they caught you on camera. They have facial recognition software. What you don't understand, when you turn into the mall, they had a license plate reader hit your car. What you don't understand, when you left the mall, when you got on the freeway scot-free, there's another flock camera right before you enter into the freeway. People say, what is flock? It's a company out of Florida, and they have decided to about 60 to 70% of the freeway entrances, intersections, and some of the major lights in some of these cities, they have their cameras, and they're continuously recording and snapping drivers' information left and right. And so the technology has caught up with people to the point where in the past, if they didn't catch you in the store, maybe they kind of realized what kind of car you had, but that wasn't enough. You were good to go. But now, man, they got a picture of your car coming in at the light. When you drove down the street, Trooper Bubba ran a scan on your license. And so they know you were in the area between 4 and 5 when the store had a smash and grab. So people have to understand technology is caught up. The criminals that were doing things a particular way can no longer do things that way and walk away with it.
So here's a question for you. In the case of Brian Koberger, where they went into the trash and retrieved the DNA, why didn't they just get a warrant and approach him and get the DNA the same way?
What happens is they probably knew he wasn't going to give it to him. And then when you put something in the trash, you have let go your control of it. Once you have decided, I'm going to put that in the trash, whether it's a spoon or a cigarette or a weed paper that you lick with your lips, or a stamp or an envelope, once you have decided to throw that away, it becomes public. And so there's no reasonable expectation of your DNA when you throw your cigarette butt away, when you lick that envelope, when you roll that weed paper, when you put your mouth on that straw. And then sometimes they won't seek a warrant that way because they feel like they can follow you enough, get it out your trash, because they also don't want you to know that they're investigating you. Because they know you're being, if you know you're being investigated, man, you could either A, leave, B, you would never get rid of something that they can get DNA off of.
Even though the trash can was at the end of the road, the street?
Don't matter. Once you throw it away in the trash, you have relinquished your control of it. There's no reasonable expectation of privacy of trash.
As a criminal defense attorney, are there ever any cases that you get where you're like, we just have to try to make a plea deal?
There's a
no
lot
win.
of cases like that because sometimes all of the evidence is against my client. But what I try to do is I truly look at them. I try to keep an open mind because I can look at something and think, wow, we got a problem. I had a young lady that had to pull a gun out on 4 people and they charged her with 3 or 4 ag assaults. But then when she told me her story and broke it down, it made it sensible that she had to pull that gun on them folks because they were chasing her and then they were repeatedly fighting her. And so we had a situation where that was justified. So that's kind of where it is sometimes. I mean, sometimes you truly have to look deep inside of a case. And there's some cases where a win is getting a guy a better deal that he would have gotten, in another event. Like, for example, if we got a guy and they got all the evidence and he was going to get 25 years, and then you were able to get him down to 10 or 5 or 8 or 12, then that's a win, depending on the situation. Now, I try to fight as hard as I can for my clients, but with the technology of today and some of the things that are going on out here, sometimes we can't always get you out of situations that you got yourself into.
Okay, so we have about 6 minutes left. So I'll finish off with Diddy. I have a couple questions. There's this Rule 29 that came up this week, I believe, where they're trying to either have the case dismissed or a new trial, something to that effect. Is that normal, standard?
Some attorneys will try to get that done, but in this situation, Diddy has to be careful because another jury might not come in and see this case a particular way. I think that the attorneys that he did did a great job of getting him where he's currently at. I just think that the judge is going to give him some kind of time. I think his defense team sees that, and I think that's where the problem is. They're trying to figure another way out for him, and I think that they don't want to be looked as just sitting there and doing nothing when their client could potentially get some time.
His attorneys were on heavy rotation in the media, and then all of a sudden they went radio silent. Is that by design?
That is by design because you don't want to be out there challenging the judge because at this point he has all the marbles. So if you're bringing negative attention to that particular judge, is that something that you want your lawyer doing, knowing that this particular judge has the power to either let you go or give you a very long prison sentence? So what you want to do is remain quiet and respectful. Sometimes the best thing to do is I was watching this video. You put your top lip to your bottom lip, and it's called shut the F up. Sometimes you just got to be quiet. You know what I mean?
There's a mafia guy, I think his name is Sammy the Bull or something. I don't know what his name is. But anyway, he says that he went through the same system, same court. He even had the original attorney that Diddy had. I guess he fired. Mm-hmm. But he thinks that Diddy's going to get 20 years. Is that a far stretch?
No, man, that's a far stretch. That judge is not going to give that man 20 years. I think because of the situation and his behavior, is he just going to get time served? No. I told everybody when we had this conversation, and we had a lot of people get mad at me. Remember, we had a lot of people get mad at me that I thought he was going to have to do between 2 and 4 more years. And that's what I'm guessing, between 1.5 to 3.5 years or 2 to 4 more years, because of how they do things. And I'm thinking more like 3.5 more years, 2 to 3.5 more years is what I'm thinking that he is going to get. Now, can I be wrong? Yes, I can. But at the same time, I think that based on the behavior of this judge, and I think also based on the sentiment that I think the judge has when he watches that Cassie video, I think that's going to cause him a problem.
So let's say the judge give him 10 years based on the whole picture, for the entire trial. Does that set Diddy up for a great appeal?
He could definitely try to appeal it because does set him up for a great appeal because he's going to try to say that this sentencing is unfair, that the guidelines did not call for 10 years, and that the judge can't justify 10 years. And if there were people in similar situation, they wouldn't have gotten 10 years. So I think it'll set up a situation where he can try to appeal that.
Okay, and one final question. Let's say a person gets pulled in with a major crime. Should they call the attorney immediately?
Yes, you always call your attorney. And the reason why I tell people this is, and you have some of these guys out here, oh, I went to the feds, I didn't did time before. No, listen, let me break something down to you. If I'm a police officer and I've been a police officer for 15 to 20 years, every day, every week, every month, I'm doing hundreds of interrogations. I've testified in hundreds of cases, sometimes thousands, and I'm just going to be better at the game of trying to get you to admit to something and getting information off of you. Those detectives and those police officers take a lot of training to be able to get additional information for people, from people, so that they can charge them with crimes. And if you think that you're going to just fool them, and they're probably going to do better than you. And I had one love say, let me just go to one of the comments. Cassie video is not part of the case. I try to tell people, hey, yeah, you're probably right, but it's going to be in the judge's mind. And if you don't think that he's going to use that when he's sentencing, whether he says that or not, then I think that that's foolish. I think that everybody has to understand some things that are going to be used will be unsaid. But when you watch something like that, even though it's not part of one of the convictions he got, people are going to look at that additional behavior, and the judge can actually consider those things if he wants to. He can either A, openly consider those things, or either B, quietly consider those things. But if you think that he's not going to consider that, then I think that if you're representing Diddy, you would be fooled. And you would have to tell Diddy, to be honest with Diddy, hey, man, I know that's not really part of your case, but I think that that's going to cause you a problem. I think that the judge is going to take that into consideration. And I think that's something that we have an issue and that we got a problem with. I think that's why you have that other young lady coming out and saying that Puffy never really did anything bad to her. He was a big help to her and she's not afraid of him, all that kind of stuff. I think part of the reason why that young lady came out and said that is to try to mitigate some of this Cassie stuff. But you just got to be honest about it.
Okay, One Love says New York no longer has qualified immunity. Cop can be sued personally.
I have to check New York. I don't practice typically in New York, but at the same time, sometimes that can be true. But even if you're suing an officer personally, a lot of the behavior has to be really egregious for you to be able to get a judgment.
Okay. All right. So we have a couple of people that want to come up. Are we entertaining that now or questions?
We can entertain. I tell you what, let's just take about 2 or 3 minutes of questions, and at about 1:20 into this, 1:18 and 1:20 into this, let's try to bring our guest up. We're going to talk about a case in Louisiana, and so we're going to bring him up in about 3 to 5 minutes. Let's take a couple of questions. Let's go to the comment section a little bit. Let me give about 4 minutes in this comment section so that we can get people engaged.
Okay, very good. Let's see. Poe Collector says, I usually bargain them with a gold star. I guess he's talking about the police officers.
Well, we'll see what happens with that. I don't know. I don't know what that really means.
Okay. Nathan Dunlap is back in the building. Thanks for always supporting the channel. He says, I have found when dealing with the police, first question you ask them is if they have any stickers. It normally calms them down.
Well, you can try to make them laugh and, and see how that works. But, sometimes that works. A lot of times I try to tell people, just be respectful. I know you may not like police officers. I've had my issues with them in the past, and I've not had the best interaction with some law enforcement officers. But if you try to make sure that you stay calm and you're thinking, and one of the reasons why you want to stay calm and trying to comply, if you can, is you don't want to stop thinking. If you're angry and you're in your emotions, you're not really thinking. So you want to kind of keep calm, keep everybody safe, keep yourself safe. And when doing that, you're allowing yourself to think freely so that you don't make a mistake in dealing with them as they're asking you questions. And so that's a whole nother reason why you want to keep it calm sometimes.
Okay. One Love says the judge is walking a very thin line when it comes to Sean Diddy Combs' case.
I would really say that. I would say that number one, even with the guidelines that are there, it didn't look like he would get more than a couple of years if you go with the low end of the guidelines and believe that he should not have the point enhancements that he's having. But with that being said, I think that they're going to try to be able to make the argument of giving him a little bit more than what people typically would give in that situation. And a lot of that is based on some of the things that were around that happened. You got a lot of drugs. You got a lot of drug usage. You got situations where you got the casting situations where people don't think that that's going to apply. And I'm telling them it is. The judge may not tell you is applying, but he's gonna treat it as something that he needs to consider. You got people flying people all over the country to have sex. I just think that with the high profile nature of it and some of the stuff that did happen, I don't think the judge is just going to give him time served and let him go to the house. I think the judge is going to have to give him a little bit of time. And I think he's going to have to do anywhere between 1.5 and 3 more years or 3.5 more years on top of what he has already done. That's just my opinion.
Okay. Can you explain what obstruction is?
Obstruction is where you are trying to block something that is being done, which means you're trying to keep somebody from doing something. You're trying to keep some lawful behavior from happening. And that's really what obstruction is.
Okay. This week with the young Dolph case, were you shocked to hear that the gentleman, I guess his name is Govan, was not guilty?
I was in a sense, but one of the things that I kind of noticed that there was going to be some reasonable doubt. Big Jook, who is Yo Gotti's brother, he really said and did a lot of things that would lead one to believe that he was fully 100% behind the killing of young Dolph, with some of the behavior that he participated in after the fact, and as well as the time that the killing happened, putting bounties on people. And Hernandez Govan, even though he's connected to Big Jook somewhat, it wouldn't be surprising to see him walk on this. It would take a great job by the attorney and a great approach. And his attorney in this situation could go and say it's Big Jook's problem. Big Jook set it up. Big Jook is the one who did it. And the unfortunate part is Big Jook is no longer here to defend himself and be questioned because he was killed. And so when you have circumstances like that, it does not surprise me that he was able to beat that case.
Okay, very good. One Love says folks are not happy with the law in their bedrooms.
A lot of people aren't. I mean, a lot of people are into a lot of stuff, and you ought to be able to do whatever you want to do. You just got to be careful when you have certain things happen. I think with Mr. Combs, I think he's high profile. There were a lot of drugs involved, a lot of sex workers being flown from place to place. You got to watch that kind of stuff. I mean, you got to watch that kind of stuff, especially when you're a man of means and money. You got to understand that those things have consequences as they go south.
Okay. DJ Genesis says, why do you think all these hip hop artists are now facing RICO charges?
Because, I think a lot of them in the past, they probably were able to do things and get away with them. I think technology has caught up with them. And I think the fact that, I hate to say it, but some of these rap guys silly now. Man, they'll do a crime and they'll talk about it in their songs. I mean, the kid in Florida, I forgot the kid in Florida that passed away. He was talking about, he had a whole song that was almost like a TikTok challenge. And he's talking about all the murders and all the stuff that had happened and all the people that had got killed. And so when you start to tell it on yourself on a record, it doesn't surprise me that you're getting indicted. And a lot of people don't understand when you're making a lot of money as a hip hop artist, sometimes the best thing to do is to try to, number one, stay away from trouble. Number two, try to transition into something else. Try to be the next Chameleonaire. Try to be the next 50 Cent where you're doing films. Try to be Chameleonaire where you invest and a lot of companies and a lot of startups, and then you took the money you made as a rapper and you turned it into 40 or 50 million dollars. And then let's be honest, in today's rap, and I'm not here to crack on a lot of the rap music nowadays, but a lot of it is, I wouldn't say trash, but they're talking about a lot of death and destruction. Who wants to listen to and buy into a lot of death and destruction, and you're on record talking about it, and then you're wondering why you're getting indicted when you didn't talk about it on 4 songs and somebody else got in trouble and told it on you? It's not that hard.
Okay, so we could bring up the guests now. That's fine.
All right. Bubba, how you doing?
Here, man. Things in divine order, my brothers. And
All right,
Calvin,
good,
so
man.
Glad to see you.
Man, I love it.
Man,
I love the dashiki, man. It's beautiful. I love that.
Thank you, my brother. Thank you, my brother. I appreciate it. I'm glad for you guys to be on here. We've got a situation here in Tallulah this week, and I want your legal analyzation of it. I want you to hear it. This just happened a few days ago, right down the street, to show how crazy things is. And Calvin, I am so honored to have you on as a legal man to look at this and break it down, and we're going to talk about it.
Yeah, let's talk about it. Let me take a look at it. Let's start this video.
Let's start it. This is in Tallulah, Louisiana, where I am.
All right, let's go.
Y'all don't enter this yard.
But the motherfucker ain't got to park in the middle of the road. He can fucking.
All right, we just asked you to get in your car and please leave. You need to stop approaching me. Stop approaching me.
This was my fucking house.
Stop approaching me. Could you please get out of our yard and back in your vehicle? Could you please get out of the yard and get back in your vehicle, please, sir?
Okay.
I don't say nothing. Please.
I mean,
Could you please?
I'm too old.
Could you please get out of the yard and back in your vehicle?
Could
you please?
It is what it is. But you see, evidently I ain't scared of y'all. I mean, I love black people. I have hired.
Y'all, look,
I've worked for 30 fucking years. I have hired. You know, be hurt.
You can ask to get away. Hey.
Y'all know we need them. They worked for me for goddamn 10, 15 years. I'm a nice guy.
Okay.
But what I'm saying is,
okay.
All you gotta do is get off the fucking road. You ain't gotta
at this point you trespassing. You've been asked to leave several times.
Watching.
Y'all, say something.
Hey.
I'm sick of this shit. I ain't putting up no more. You hear me? Get in the house. You hear me? I ain't putting up with it no more. You motherfuckers. Hey, you can keep filming me all you want to, but you're going to one in your fucking head.
I'm not. He's gonna go to jail. 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 And I started to shoot his ass. But I ain't got, hey, yeah, he going to jail. You going to jail. You going to jail.
There you have it.
Well, I want to break that down for y'all. At the beginning of the video, there's a conversation that they're having. The man is okay then because he's just having a conversation. Now, I want you to watch as he stepped onto the property. Now, if he's stepping onto your property, and I don't know how they do in Louisiana, most states have either stand your ground or have self-defense laws that allow you to be able to defend yourself. Now, when he initially walked on the property, he didn't have any weapons. It was not a big threat, but he was asked to leave. And he should leave when he's asked to leave because he's actually in the driveway, stepping on the property of those people. He's no longer allowed to be there. Now, he can pull his truck out in front of the house because that's a public street. He can be out there in front of the house. He can be in the street. That's fine. But when he stepped onto the property, that was a problem. And then when he continued to talk and he was asked to leave, to me, that's trespassing. Now, the biggest part of the video is when he goes back to this truck, then he walks toward the individual with the gun. At that point, the person who was in the house would be justified in leaving him where he was standing. When I say leaving him where he was standing, he could have got popped, he could have got shot, and he could have ended up getting shot dead right on the spot because, number one, he has a gun. He's approaching a house. He's on property that he's been told to leave. He's approaching with a weapon to somebody who's in the house who's not a threat to him. And so that person, when that gun came out and that guy walked toward them, the guy in the house would have been justified in shooting him on the spot. Now, once the guy shot at him and then turned his back and walked away, he wouldn't have been able to shoot at the man as he walked away because then the threat is gone. But that man could have ended up getting shot and the shooter would have been justified in the majority of the jurisdictions in the United States. Nobody should be able to come on your property and fire a weapon at you, and you did not provoke them in doing it. When I say you didn't really provoke them, you just asked them to leave. You didn't threaten them. You basically asked him to leave, and his response was to go to his truck, return, and shoot at you. He should be charged with aggravated assault with a deadly weapon, or in some jurisdictions that may even charge you with attempted murder. But because, number one, he pulled his weapon out first, he stepped on a property of the property owner, he fired first, that young man would have been justified in shooting him dead on the spot. And I thought that would have been a legal shooting. Now, part of the reason why he probably didn't do it because in Louisiana, they were going to try to turn it into something else. But the good part about it is it was on tape. So most situations, the guy in the house would be justified in shooting that individual. And that man that walked up to that family should be in jail right now. He should have a really high bond because that is extremely dangerous. He's a threat to himself, his others, and those in the community with that kind of behavior, walking up on somebody just out of the blue on a minor discrepancy or a minor disagreement, and he pulls out a gun and shoots at a homeowner. A person like that should be locked up and they should have a high bond. And the people in Louisiana did not do that, they're wrong.
Well, Attorney Johnson, they charged him with a so-called hate crime, $250,000 bond. He never went to jail. He paid the bond and went home. Now he's among some of the so-called elite family names. The name is Fontainberry, and they are big-time farmers, right? So all that's connected down is it's not what you know, it's who you know. But we're saying nobody's above the law. But this dude, now he came early. But we didn't get that way. He hit a car, changed vehicles, went home and came back and parked and didn't know whatever car he hit. They must have saw him and probably they were going to tell it on him. He came back to approach them about what had happened previously. Then he came on their property. So I went this morning and looked at the scene. It's a stop sign, glass on the corner. This man hit a car, went home, changed vehicles, came back to the scene of the crime, got out and got into a verbal confrontation with the people standing there. Now,
and I'm telling you, that's where the problem is. In some of these jurisdictions, especially in these small towns, especially smaller towns in Louisiana and some of the smaller towns in Texas, you can get away with that stuff if your family is a big name there, if you're involved in law enforcement, if they know the DA's there. Things like that shouldn't happen. But if you know the right person, sometimes you don't get charged. But they would have been justified in laying him out right then and there. If he'd have pulled that gun on me and shot at me, I'd have shot him back and I'd left him where he was standing.
I said the same thing. Good thing it wasn't me because we'd had an issue out in the parking, but then in the driveway, you know. And
y'all know what? This is the thing that we always got to think about. And I always try to tell people, when you have a situation like that, it seems to me that a lot of us being African Americans, when we stand our ground and we do what we're supposed to do, they still want to arrest you, put you under a high bond, and really make you fight a case where literally, to be honest with you, once that man steps on your property and he shoots at you, you ought to be able to leave him where he's standing. If you understand, from Texas, right? When I say leave him where he's standing, the minute he shoots at you, you shoot right back at him, and he's gonna be left where he was standing. And that's
Man,
just
he had an automatic
where it is.
weapon. You know that. He had an automatic weapon when he stepped up and fired that shot. And then he threatened to shoot somebody in the head. Now I'm thinking there was some children all that was there that saw all of this. Okay. And the thing they're trying to find out now, how is he gonna be charged? Well, we try to make this public. This cannot keep going on in small or whatever town it is, because we're already at a high level of racist activities. And right now in Tallulah, we got a lot of stuff going on. You know,
And
I told you on my show, suppose there'd been a black man walked up into a white man's yard, you know what the outcome would have been.
And see, that's the thing. And that's why when I look at something like this, in a place like Louisiana, like I said, Texas, Louisiana run neck and neck when it comes to crazy stuff like this. That's just crazy to me that this man is allowed to just walk up, do this, and literally they let him do a walkthrough and then make him get booked in. And a walkthrough, so I help people understand. Sometimes when you're arrested, they like put the cuffs on you, they take you to jail. You have to wait to get a bond set. Sometimes it can be 4 hours, 8 hours, a full day where you go into custody. What they did for this man, they basically probably let him do a walkthrough where they brought him into jail, let him walk in on his own, set a bond at $250K, took his fingerprints and let him walk out. And I don't think that you should be giving that kind of person that kind of treatment when they're coming at you with an automatic weapon on somebody else's property. See, I don't understand that.
Yeah. Well, I said that's one of the things, that's one of the issues going on there around here. Of course, my phone been ringing off the hook today. I did my own live on it on my show, and I asked the question: had the situation been reversed, that been a black man did that, what would be going on today?
You know what I want to do? Go ahead. Go ahead.
Had been a black man walking in that yard of white men, even if it been a black man and a black man, we're more apt to shoot each other than to shoot one of them.
And see, that's why I want to have this conversation, and I want to go to the comment section a little bit because I want to know what people are thinking. What are y'all thinking in the comment section? Mel, what you got for me? I see
all
one
right.
comment up here.
MD says Trump is bringing out the worst in people. Their true colors are coming out. They know they're causing hate and division, and the oldest tactic.
And see, that's the thing, the little bitty thing that we're talking about. And I know what Baba's probably thinking about is, hey, man, a lot of these people are feeling empowered because Mr. Trump is in office, and they feel like that down the line that misbehavior is going to be treated properly, improperly in their favor. So, and Gold Digger, I see another comment. What does that say? In his mind, he thinks he's above the law. He came back to the scene of his own crime with a gun and says he wants all the negative smoke. And see, that's the kind of thing that I get concerned about, because if you, depending on who you do that to, man, that situation can go very, very bad. He could have ended up firing automatic weapon and shooting a lot of people. He could have got shot dead right then and there. An innocent kid inside of the house could have been hurt. I think a lot of people should really look at this case and look at this situation and give it some attention, because that could be a very, very bad situation. And situations like this lead to other situations in locales such as Tallulah, to where race relations are already tough. A situation like this can really divide the city. And we got to be honest, and we got to be careful. This kind of behavior does not bring us together. It separates us apart. And so we have to have the law punish this situation and punish this behavior properly so that people don't end up getting hurt. What else is being said in the comment section?
Joe Fleur says this should be made known to the national TV stations.
It should be known. One of the things I know that we will do is we're on the show today talking about it. When Baba sent me the video, I was just like, wow, this is very interesting. So I wanted to see that. And the reason why stuff like this alarms me is because when somebody participates in behavior like this and actually come on somebody else's property and shoots at them and walks away like they own the place, that really concerns me. It wasn't just the fact that he walked up and did that. It's the callousness upon which he did it with. You could tell that, hey, I know I can walk up and shoot at you and I'm going to walk away. I'm going to be good. And so I think you got to be very, very careful about that. I want to go to some more comments. Ro Thomas says, they're the ones creating a vengeance against us all over this country. And that's an issue. And people have to understand when you actually go out and shoot at somebody behind something like this is something that you probably should not be doing. Because when you do that, if you shoot at the wrong person, it's going to be a problem. Like if it's me, I have vengeance issues and I'm going to be in the right because you shoot at me on my property. I'm not going to allow you to just walk away from that, because if I allow you to do that, you may come back and try to do something like that again. And so that could turn into a very bad back and forth. It could turn into a very, very bad situation. And we got to be extremely careful in this country when we're allowing behavior like this to occur.
All right. One Love says Trump wasn't the president in the 60s. Let's stop the crap.
What do you mean Trump wasn't president in the 60s? I get it, but America was a lot more racist in the 60s too as well. And so when you start talking about that, it's not just about it's all Trump's fault. No, it's not his fault. These individuals are behaving in a way that they feel like that they can behave. Is part of the fact that they feel emblazoned and emboldened because of some of the wings of that party that he's in. We have to be honest about that. That is true. But with that being said, some of the stuff in the 60s is not going to fly in 2025.
No.
When you come at an African-American person like you did in the 60s, today somebody's probably going to lose their life. People are not going to take it. And should we push behavior, and should we raise rhetoric like the current president does sometimes to make people feel like it's okay to do this? And I'm not going off on him. And that sometimes we can raise the rhetoric, the rhetoric to make something like this happen. But when he does stuff like that and raises that rhetoric, and that could truly cause a problem, and people can be really going out here going after each other. And I think as a president, some of the good things that he has done, he needs to continue to do those things. But some of this kind of behavior that sometimes some of his people push is not something that he should add fuel to the fire on. I'm just keeping it real.
Okay. One Love says blaming Trump for what's in someone's heart isn't the remedy either.
It's not. I mean, I always try to tell people that this hate is bigger than Trump. It's the hate that hate made. I mean, this hate has went on for hundreds of years. I just think that sometimes people feel emboldened by politics. Now, will it always be the fact that Mr. Trump has caused them to feel this way? Nah, some people are just doing stupid stuff because they want to do stupid stuff and they're racist at their hearts. I'm not going to blame that man for everything that happens. I'm not going to blame him for every bit of racism, but I think it's also realistic to understand that some people that feel that way feel emboldened by the fact that sometimes he pushes some of that rhetoric as normal. And I'm not saying that it's his fault, because that man's shooting at that man in his house. That's not Trump's fault. But at the same time, there's certain people feel like, A, I can do that because he's president. And other people feel like, B, hey, he's doing that because he feels like he got the backing of leadership. And I'm not blaming Trump for this knucklehead walking up to this man and shooting at him. That's his dumb mistake. I'm not blaming him at all. But at the same time, let's be honest, the environment that's in this country right now It's
Yeah.
not a kumbaya moment. People
No.
in this country are not fighting because we're one country. Half of the country wants us here, other half don't want us here, and they dang sure don't want the Mexicans here. That's why they're trying to get them up out of here. So let's be honest. I mean, that is going on. I think we have to be careful about that as a nation and as a country, to try to calm some of this down, because if we continue to infight in this country, it's going to be the end of America if we're not careful.
Well,
Okay.
well said. Well said.
Thanks,
And
Bubba.
that's why we are coming on today. And I appreciate y'all, because we're trying to find, we're fighting to bring the community together here. And the harder we fight, the more divided we become, because we got this thing. See, this town, Tallulah, has a long history. As far as back as 1812, when they hung 8 people in 1 week, you know. And they hung 5 brothers. They tried to hide it, and hung 5 Sicilians, you know. And they had the hardest fight trying to get voters' rights and all these things. So it's a constant struggle here in this town. And plus that, this is where Madam C.J. Walker was born. This is her hometown.
Oh, wow.
Yeah,
hey, that's
you know.
good. And Baba, we appreciate that information, and I'm glad that we're talking about this. And I think, Mel, all over the country, especially in places like Louisiana, and currently what's happening here in Dallas and Houston, where people feel like a lot of the progress that was made, that now we're taking a backward step and we're going in the wrong direction. But I have a pretty unique perspective even on that. I think a lot of racism has reared its ugly head, but I also think that as African Americans, as the highest number voting bloc in the Democratic Party, I think we have not thrown our weight around enough. And when I say throwing our weight around enough, not just Black women, but Black men. They're ignoring the fact that 8 out of 10 African American men are voting for the Democratic Party. But when it comes to the African American male, he's being put at the end of the line. And then when it comes to African American people as a whole, when you vote 80 and 90% for a party that loses, you're going to lose your congressional seats. If you don't vote enough and you vote for the losing ticket, there's going to be consequences for that. So part of me is upset, and the majority of me is upset that I think they're playing a dangerous, dirty game in some of the redistricting. But at the same time, if you lose an election and you're on the side where 85% of your people voted for the losing side, yeah, it's going to be consequences. And so as a community, we have to start understanding that there are going to be consequences. In addition to that, I always tell people, even when dealing with Mr. Trump and the Republican Party, I'm not in my feelings when it comes to dealing with them. Are you going to make things for us better? Or are you going to treat us fairly? Or are some of your policies going to help us? And if they are, let's talk about that. But at the same time, there is a wing of that party that wants nothing to do with anybody that's not white. And you have to live in both of those realities and understand that that is it.
I just want to replay this because the first time I played it, it was on a smaller screen. I want to play it so that people can really see it. So let's.
All right, this is private property. Don't enter the yard.
I got a broke fucking foot.
Don't enter this yard.
But the motherfucker ain't got to park in the middle of the road. He could put it on.
All right, we just asked you to get in your car and please leave. You need to stop approaching me. Stop approaching me.
This was my fucking house.
Stop approaching me. Could you please get out of our yard and back in your vehicle? Could you please get out of the yard and get back in your vehicle, please, sir?
Okay.
I don't say nothing. Please.
I mean,
Could you please?
I'm too old.
Could you please get out of the yard and back in your vehicle? Could you please?
Could you please? But see, evidently I ain't scared of y'all. I mean, I love black people. I have hired.
Y'all, look,
I've
be quiet.
for
Don't say
30
nothing.
fucking years.
Don't
I
say
have hired. You know,
nothing.
I've been hurt.
You can ask your ex, get away. Hey.
La, y'all know we need them? They worked for me for goddamn 10, 15 years. I'm a nice guy.
Okay.
But what I'm saying is,
Okay.
all you gotta
you
do
gonna say nothing to him.
is get off the fucking road. You
Okay.
ain't gotta
You
park in the middle of the road.
at this point you trespassing. You've been asked to leave several times.
Y'all, tell you something.
Hey,
I'm sick of this shit. I ain't putting no more. You hear me? Get in the house. You hear me? I ain't putting up with it no more. You motherfuckers. Hey, you can keep filming all you want to, but you're going to one in your fucking head.
I'm not. He's gonna go to jail. He's gonna go to jail. He's gonna go to jail. He's gonna go to jail, and I started to shoot his ass. But I ain't got. Hey, yeah, he going to jail. You going to jail? You going to jail?
And you know what? When you look at what happened there, that's extremely unfortunate. I was actually, as I was watching this, I was surprised that this man literally got a gun and walked up on those folks and immediately fired. That really, really surprised. When I say it surprised me, I was just like, man, what is he doing? I'm gonna tell you now. He's in Louisiana, but certain places in Texas, oh, he done got all the smoke, because you cannot behave like that. That's one of the people said, I'm disappointed with the reaction, because I know a lot of people, if he had fired at him, you fired the wrong person. I know some people that would have lit him up. He'd have had more than a broke foot walking away from there. I'm just telling you, boy. I'm trying to tell you. And but at the same time, I just think that this world as a whole, I think we have lost the ability to respect each other. And I think that there's a high cost that comes with that. The inability to respect each other to the point to where you are walking back. You're on somebody's property and they tell you to leave, you gotta leave. You don't come back, pull a gun and shoot at somebody on their own property. That's unacceptable. And like I said, a lot of people I know, they'd have definitely left him where he was standing. But at the same time, I'm glad nothing happened. I'm glad nobody got hurt. But if they don't do something about that gentleman in that city, there's going to be a major problem, because the next time he steps on somebody's yard, somebody may not be so forgiving. And so I'm just keeping it real. Yeah.
And and Attorney Johnson, that's what we're trying to avoid by making this aware of some behavior is not acceptable. You step on the wrong yard or the wrong place, and somebody's going to give you your exit papers. You understand? And that's why we came on tonight, because I've been dealing with this all for the last couple of days. It's gone viral. I mean, 2 million hits.
I'm glad that you shared this with us, because we need to talk about stuff like this. And then, Baba, I know you are trying to not just bring attention to it, you're trying in your community to not create a situation where people don't feel safe. You got a lot of kids that probably play in that community. There were probably children in that house. In addition to that, you don't want everybody in that community walking around thinking that somebody's going to go to their truck and pull a weapon out. You know, I've seen so many situations where somebody go to their truck or go to their trunk. That's a problem. That's it. And so I'm glad that you're being proactive in your community. I'm glad you came on Legal Review with Mel and Calvin to talk about it, because you're helping your community. And anybody watching this show, you know, it's not just Baba's video. If you have a video, hey, hit us up. You know, go ahead and give us a copy of that video. Tell us what's going on. We'll actually bring it on and we'll address it. And I'll give a legal standpoint, and Mel will ask all the right questions. And so let's get, if you got videos, hit us up at the Legal Review. We do this every week. We come on, 8 p.m. New York time, 7 p.m. Texas time. We have guests like Baba, who's community leader in Louisiana, come on, sharing stuff from his community of stuff that's actually happening. And if you come on to Legal Review and share that with us, hey, maybe we'll talk about that. And maybe we'll actually, go over your video and give you some pointers on what you should do. Or maybe we can even make your situation better just by bringing light to the fact that it's happening.
Yes, sir. Appreciate it. Thank you. And that's
All
the
right.
purpose. Mel?
Joe Flores says he shouldn't be allowed to have a gun, and MD seconds that emotion.
Yeah, you know what I think that they should do? The judge should have him turn in all his weapons at this point. If you're on bond for that kind of behavior, to make sure that the community is safe, I honestly think that they probably should confiscate his weapons and they should take those things from him, because he's going to either hurt somebody, or he's going to hurt a child, or he's going to get himself lit up. I mean, I'm looking at that video. I was like, man, like, I can't believe he actually stepped on my property and shot at me if I'm living at that house. And I guarantee you one thing, if he was to ever do that again, after I let him walk away the first time, maybe I'm not so nice. And so that's why I'm concerned about stuff like that. And that's why we got to have this conversation, because what people don't understand, I try to say, somebody made a comment that, hey, this is not the 1960s. Exactly. If you do that to somebody like me now, there ain't going to be no turnaround. Let you spray me with a water can and let you sick your dogs on me. You do that to somebody nowadays, those actions are going to come with a fight. They're going to come with bullets. They're going to come with weapons. People can lose their lives. And so that's why it's important for folks, when they behave like that, and we have judges and police officers in these jurisdictions, that they make the proper adjustments to make sure people like that don't have weapons, and make sure people like that don't step on other folks' property by setting these bonds high, confiscating those weapons when you do something like this, and there's a video of it, so there's no question about whether it's happening or not. We got to be smart about making sure that things like this don't flare up.
Okay, Gold Digger says, you are not a nice guy. This is extreme. Mental illness is real. He is not in the right mind in doing this.
I get that mental illness thing, but I'm trying to tell you, I'd have knocked his acorn off. He shot at me. He won't have to worry about his mental. His mental will be laying on the ground, because you cannot go up to somebody's house in their property and shoot at them. That's crazy to me. Who allows that to even happen? No, that cannot happen.
So I have a question, because a lot of times the biggest police things happen. Like, there was most recently a thing that happened where a person was waiting outside the CVS, and there's a whole thing about ID. Give me your ID. And then there's a whole thing, obstruction. It's an obstruction of justice. Could you explain what obstruction is and how does the obstruction thing get just tied to it?
The law nowadays, let me say this to y'all as you ask that question. And I don't want to talk over you, but I know what you're asking. Nowadays, you have to give your ID, because they've changed the laws to make you give their ID. They're going to hit you with obstruction duties, or they're going to give you a failure to ID. You got to show your ID nowadays. The legislators have written it in where you have to give that up. And when you don't give that up, you put yourself in a situation where you're getting arrested. So now you have compounded a situation. Now you've given them a reason to put their hands on you. Give them the ID, get it back, and then when they continue to question you, tell them, no, we're not going to talk anymore. If you don't have a lawful way to detain me, then I'm out of here. I had a situation. I think I told people the story. I was in a trial, actually a sexual assault trial, and the judge had ended court early that day. I decided to come home, have a drink, and thank God I got my ID off the counter, because I was going to leave it. I was going to go up to the corner bar, get me a drink, and come back home. and a bunch of cop cars swarmed me. And what had happened was I had changed into some shorts and one of those affliction t-shirts. Y'all know, remember those affliction t-shirts with the skulls and daggers and all that on there? I had some of that stuff back in the day. And I would walk down the street, walk back up, man, and I guess somebody saw me walking, and the officer came and swarmed me and was like, "Hey, can I talk to you for a minute?" And I was like, I was on the phone. I was like, "No." I said, "For what?" "Well, can I talk to you for a minute?" He walked up on me. "Hey, can I have your ID?" I gave him my ID. And he was, "Well, there was a rape over here 2 nights ago, this, and that." And I said, "That had nothing to do with me." "Well, I want to ask you some questions." I said, "Nah." I said, "I tell you this." I said, "First of all, I told you I'm not going to talk to you." I said, "Second of all, this is a bad day for you." I said, "You need to give me my ID and I need to go." And he goes, "Well, I said I had some questions." I said, "Nah." I hit him with, "Yeah, I'm an attorney, number one. So I'm not answering any more of your questions. And you need to give me my ID now, right now. Snap, snap, let's go." I probably shouldn't have said it like that to him. But at that point, I was infuriated. He had to give me my ID. And thank God the concierge saw what was happening on the cameras and ran around like, "Oh, no, he lives here. He lives here." And that was an issue. But part of the problem is I try to be nice. I gave him my ID. After ID, I didn't have to ask any more questions. And I wanted to keep walking and keep moving. But sometimes you'll run into an officer who may not be wanting to hear that answer, because as an attorney, I know where I'm at. I know what I got to do. I don't fit a description. I already know what y'all are looking for. I live here. I just went for a walk. I know where I've been the last couple of days, and I know where I've been today. So I was in court. And so what happened was I knew my rights. And sometimes me being an attorney, sometimes I got to be careful with that, because I know I have knowledge, right? And that knowledge is power. And that's why we have these conversations. When you know what you're supposed to do, you got to keep your head. I started even then to lose my head a little bit, but I also knew that I didn't have to continue to answer his questions. I knew what the law was. I knew he didn't have a reason to detain me. I knew he was trying to ask me additional questions to give him a right to detain me. I know that I had not answered any more additional questions, so he couldn't detain me. So I knew he had to give me my ID and let me go. And see, sometimes using the knowledge that you have, watching shows like ours, listening to the questions that are being asked, look at some of the stuff that Baba has asked me, DJ Genesis has asked me, and all the questions that Mel asked me about what people should do in certain situations. When you watch the weekly legal review here on our show, we're going to show you and we're going to teach you and give you the best advice on what you should typically do when you're in these situations to the best of our abilities. Now, we know there are different jurisdictions, but the one thing we try to tell you is to know as much as possible, to keep your emotions in check. Try to comply when you can, when it's safe. Really try to comply as much as you can all the time. Don't put yourself in any bad situations, but at the same time, know your rights, but don't cause a scene. Don't get over emotional in your situation. Keep your head. Try to make sure that you're doing what you're supposed to do, because you don't want a small situation turning into a big situation.
DJ Genesis, let's try to, I would like for this to get posted on my Facebook page so the citizen can see the conversation and learn from it, Attorney Johnson, because I got a good following, but by putting it on the page to Little Let's Talk, they can see it, because I mean, that is the thing going on now. And we got some young gangbangers around here. And trust me, they're looking for an opportunity. They're looking for an opportunity. And we was on LaSalle Street, but now that's where that was, that incident happened. But we've got some situations here, man, that all they want is an opportunity or a reason. You understand? And I think we get this out to let people know that making this national, it ain't just what you call a pigeonhole incident. We got to be aware of what's going on. And like you said, I like where the guy kept his emotions out, because he could have fired.
Yeah.
But he stayed calm. He stayed real pretty calm in my book. Now, I don't know if I can that calm. Go ahead.
I couldn't be that calm because, man, to me, you're making an attempt on my life.
Yeah.
But I do like the fact that he stayed calm. Y'all listen, I always try to tell people with our 2-hour point, we're going to have to do our closing remarks. Baba, first of all, tell us how we can get to your page. And
it's called Tallulah. It's called Tallulah Let's Talk. Community Information Open Forum. It's called Tallulah Let's Talk. And it's designed to deal with community issues. Here, they call me Pop Bagley here. So and we deal with a lot of things. And matter of fact, we are preparing to run for office as a city councilman, because we need people on there that's going to really try to bring about change.
Okay. And Mel, what do you got for us? DJ Genesis, real quick, because you know we're running a little we're running a little long at 2:05. We shut it down.
There's one last video. I mean, I wanted to like get your opinion on this last video and just see what you think about this. So let's see this.
Oh my God, yo.
Turn your phone.
It is on.
So here's the thing. I think that a lot of times when it comes to police, that when one person starts, they all begin to jump in. What do you think about a situation?
Well, I'm going to tell you this. I'm going to be honest. When you look at a situation like this, and it's definitely going to be the last situation for the night, when you have situations like this, when they're trying to pull somebody out of the car, you got
the back seat. This is the back seat. So yeah, you pull a person out over for so she's the person they pull over. Mm-hmm. Now the person in the back seat is getting pulled out the car. So and this is the issue.
Oh,
turn your phone.
It is on. Yo.
But you got to
you came up here and asked her about her fucking thing on her windshield, bro.
What the fuck? Who did that?
But I'm gonna tell you what you got to be careful. I don't think. Let me tell y'all this. Let me hit this real quick. I don't think that the officer should have responded like that, but I think the individual he probably thought was being disrespectful. But at the same time, when you got somebody, I'm gonna tell you what these officers are gonna say, and that's why I say you got to maintain frame, right? Mm-hmm. When you're in a situation like this, you can't talk to the officers like that because it's gonna cause him to try to go over the line. And if you're going to cuss at them, then it's going to cause that additional situation. Yep. And what the officer is going to try to say is, hey, I felt that I was in danger. And I didn't know what the guy had in the back. He was being very aggressive. I didn't want him to remain in the car. By being aggressive, you have given him a reason to be able to pull you out the car. But, Mel, we're going to go ahead and let you close it because it's at the point where we got to end this. But once again, we got to talk about maintaining your emotions. Know what your rights are. Be very, very careful. I'm not trying to justify what the officers was doing, but that conversation was really not needed at the time of him saying what he said. And that also goes into all the 3 situations where we talked about tonight. Maintaining frame, keeping your emotion, and making sure you know what's going on. Hey, I appreciate everybody watching tonight. Mel, anybody wants to get in contact with me, they can get in contact with me by emailing me at attorneycalvindjohnson@gmail.com. They won't let me out.com as a website, and 214-565-5600. And also my Cash App is Calvin J 3421 with the $sign in the front of it. And so, Mel, take us home. Tell us when they can hear us again, and tell us what we're going to try to do.
All right. Thank you guys for tuning in to Watching the World. It was nice to have Baba on. You can go and support him with the information that he provided. We also have DJ Genesis of Detroit. You can check out her channel and go give her some support as well. We have this show every week at 8 p.m. We also have a daily show each day during the week. We go over the news at noon. So stay tuned in. We look forward to getting back with each and every one of you. And thank you for all the support. And you guys have a very good night. Thank you.
Thank you.